Have you ever thought about how a tiny little pause, like a comma, can literally change the meaning of everything? It's kind of amazing, right? Today, we're going to unpack how this simple idea of a deliberate pause is actually one of the oldest and, frankly, most powerful concepts for living a meaningful life. I mean, this says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you have a pretty horrifying sentence. On the other, a loving invitation to dinner. The only difference is that tiny comma. That pause. It saves a life. It turns a threat into an act of love. Just keep that image in your head, because that life-saving pause is what this whole explainer is about. So our source material introduces us to this beautiful Korean word, anshik. Now, this isn't just about, not working or being lazy. It means a deep, comfortable, truly restorative rest. It's not about doing nothing. It's about a meaningful pause. It's the comma in the sentence of our lives. All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we're going to look at creation's blueprint for rest. Then we'll see how that pattern became a command against greed. After that, we'll talk about the Sabbath's true master, trace the big shift from Sabbath to Sunday, and then we'll bring it all home to figure out where the comma is in your life. Okay, let's kick things off with creation's blueprint for rest. We have to go all the way back to the beginning to see that this whole idea of work and rest wasn't some afterthought. Nope. It was actually woven right into the fabric of the universe from day one. So according to the Genesis story, the world wasn't just chaos. There was an order, a clear plan. For 6 days, a pattern took shape. First, God made the spaces, and then he filled them. So day 1, you get light and dark. Day 2, sky and water. Day 3, land and plants. Then comes the filling. Day 4, sun, moon, and stars. Day 5, birds and fish. And finally, on day 6, animals and humans. It was this very deliberate, structured process of work. But then, after those 6 days of incredible work, came day 7. And this wasn't just the end of the week. The source text really hammers this home. This day was completely different. God blessed the 7th day, made it holy, and set it apart as the day of anshik, that comfortable, meaningful rest. This set the rhythm for everything else. 6 parts work, 1 part rest. It was the original blueprint. Okay, so let's move on. We're going from a pattern to a direct command, and this is where things get really interesting. We're calling this section a command against greed, because believe me, telling an entire nation to take a mandatory day off was a truly revolutionary idea, designed to fight one of our deepest human flaws. So, let me just ask you this. Seriously, think about it. In the ancient world, thousands of years ago, for your average person, a farmer, a servant, a slave, how many scheduled days off do you think they got per year? The answer? A big, fat 0. Yep. Work was constant. It was relentless. 365 days a year, from sunup to sundown. Life was just this endless cycle of labor that led to total exhaustion. There was no weekend, there were no breaks. And right into that world of non-stop grind, God gives the Israelites this bombshell of a command. It's not a friendly suggestion. It's the law. Remember the Sabbath. It says you have to work for 6 days, but on the 7th, you stop. And not just you, your kids, your servants, any visitors, even your animals. Everybody rests, no exceptions. So the big question is, why? Why was this so important? Well, the source breaks it down into 3 huge reasons. First, it was to imitate God's own rhythm from creation. Second, and this is so key, it was to stop people from becoming slaves to greed and money. Think about it. Stopping for a whole day meant choosing to give up a day's profit. It was a built-in reminder that enough is enough. And third, it was to remember that they had once been slaves in Egypt with no rest at all. It was a command rooted in empathy. But you know how it goes with rules. People have a tendency to complicate things. So let's move into our 3rd section, the Sabbath's true master. This is what happens when we forget the why behind a rule and get obsessed with the what, when the rule itself becomes the cage. Yeah, so over the centuries, that beautiful idea of anshik, of comfortable rest, got completely buried under a mountain of man-made regulations. The whole point shifted from freedom and restoration to this rigid, nitpicky observance. I mean, it's so tragic. The very day that was meant to free people from slavery became its own kind of prison of rules. And then, into this whole mess of rules, Jesus shows up and says something that just turns everything on its head. He declares, "The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." He was basically saying, you've all missed the point. I'm the one who gets to say what this day is all about. He took the day back from the rule makers. So what was his big teaching? He showed everyone that the Sabbath was made for people, not the other way around. If someone's hurt, you heal them. If someone's hungry, you feed them. He taught that doing good, showing mercy, helping people, that's the absolute best way to honor the Sabbath. It's a day for healing, not for being trapped. And that teaching leads us right into our fourth section, a really major shift in history, from Sabbath to Sunday. We're going to look at exactly how and why the main day of rest and worship for Christians moved from the seventh day of the week to the first. This timeline lays it out pretty clearly. First, you've got the original Sabbath on Saturday, the seventh day. Then you have the game-changing event. Jesus resurrects on Sunday, the first day of the week. All of a sudden, this day had this profound new meaning for his followers. And then much later, in the year 321, the Roman Emperor Constantine makes Sunday an official public holiday, which pretty much sealed the deal for the next 1700 years. And so Sunday came to be known as the Lord's Day, or Juil in Korean. Its whole meaning was wrapped up in the resurrection. So just like the old Sabbath celebrated freedom from slavery in Egypt, this new day of rest celebrated a whole new kind of freedom, freedom from sin and death. It was like a weekly reminder of a brand new creation. Which brings us right to our final section, and back to you and me, the comma in your life. How do we take this whole epic story, from creation to a command to a new day, and find its meaning in our crazy 24/7 modern world? Well, the source material suggests we can boil down the purpose of this day of rest into three really powerful ideas. Number one, remember the resurrection and what it stands for. Number two, gather in community with other people. And number three, which might be the hardest one of all for us today, stop my work. Just consciously put it all down. And this brings us right back to where we started. This is the whole point. This intentional rest, this anshik, it really is the comma in the long, rambling sentence of our lives. It is that crucial pause that lets us catch our breath, look around, and remember who we are and where on earth we're actually trying to go. Because without that comma, the sentence of our life just becomes a breathless, chaotic, run-on mess. We risk becoming slaves to the very same things the command warned us about thousands of years ago. Greed, ambition, the nonstop pressure to just keep going. We risk completely losing our way.
So this is what I really want to leave you with. This isn't just about one specific day of the week. It's about a principle for life. So the final question is for you. In the long, busy sentence of your own life, what is your comma? Where is your moment of anshik? Subscribing, liking, and commenting is a great encouragement for making the next video.